अस्सलामुअलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। मेरे बेटे, सबसे पहले तो जुम्मा मुबारक। अल्लाह ताला इस जुम्मे के सदक़े हमारी आसानियाँ फरमाए, हर चीज़ में हमारी मदद करे। Today we are going to start a new chapter, and the chapter is the relationship between theory and methods. So let's begin. Positivist and anti-positivist approaches. We can examine the relationship between theory and methods in more detail by showing how three different theoretical approaches, positivism, interpretivism, and realism, construct this relationship. Let's start with positivism. According to this approach, it is both possible and desirable to study social behavior using similar methods to those used when studying natural world. We can examine this belief by identifying some of its key ideas, beginning with the basic principle that social systems are made up of structures that exist independently of individuals. First of all, we need to understand about this paragraph. What is the crux of this paragraph? Listen, how we define sociology. So sociology is the systematic study of a society. When we talk about society, society is constructed with the help of different institutions. So institutions are there to make a society. Why institutions make a society? Because institutions make different rule and regulations, different laws, through which we try to develop a consensus theory within the people. You understand what I mean to say? So first of all, we need to understand the first point, societies. After societies, we need to understand what is the basic unit of society. Institutions like police, like school, like hospitals. You understand? So this is we have in the first paragraph. Institutions represent behavior at the macro level of society. As individuals, we experience social structures as forces beating down on us, pushing us to behave in a certain way and shaping our behavioral choices. Although we have a measure of choice in our daily life, this is limited by social structure. So see that we know society. In society, we have a lot of institutions. Institutions make rule and regulations and law just to make a people into a framework. Real okay. And you know, when we have institutions, there are certain limitations we have. There are certain limitations. We need to work within our framework. You know, so institution give us an opportunity or a limited choice to behave in a proper way. We can't drive our car more than 20 kilometers per hour because there is a restriction by police. Understand? We can't kill somebody because there is a restriction by the court, judiciary. So there are different rules and regulations, there are different laws which bind us to work within a framework. This is what actually we have in this paragraph. For positivist, positivist, where social action is determined by the structural forces, it makes sense to study the cause of behavior. This means looking at the structural forces that make people choose one action over another rather than studying their effects. The choices themselves, social structure, are seen as real, objective forces. People can't stop these forces from acting on them. Durkheim, 1895, describes structural forces in terms of collective conscience. You need to remind it. Mere bete, Durkheim describes structural forces in terms of collective conscience. And what is collective conscience? The expression of a society's collective will, which bear down on individual, shaping their beliefs and behavioral choices. Just as natural scientists have observed the effect of unseen forces such as gravity or electromagnetism, social structures are unseen forces whose effect can be observed using similar techniques to those of the natural sciences. For instance, systematic observation, rigorous testing, quantitative measurement that create reliable knowledge. More specifically, knowledge is created by observing social behavior, developing and testing hypotheses, analyzing and evaluating evidence. This systematic process culminates in the development of theories that explain the initial observation and predict future behavior. No, me bete, listen. I mean, for instance, we have a certain framework I mentioned earlier. Listen, I'm a teacher. What is my responsibility to be a teacher? If I need to acknowledge, as a good teacher, there are certain boundaries, there are certain limitations. I need to be honest, I need to be loyal, I need to be hardworking, I need to be cooperative. All these traits, all these characteristics are are given to me through structural forces. What is structural forces? So basically, if we simply try to understand the hierarchy, top level, we got society. After society, we have institutions. Institutions and rule and regulations which draw the structural behavior, the ideal conditions, the ideal role, ideal roadmap we are supposed to follow, right? And through that forces, the structural forces which are given by the institution, I have a choice to act either good way, either bad way. So what is collective conscience? Collective conscience is a generalized will. It's a generalized standard which I need to follow as a teacher, as a trader, as a merchant, as a father, as a mother. So whatever the role I want to choose, I need to look through all those traits in a specific framework which is designed by the structural forces. And what are the structural forces? Police, education, our teachers, our parents, government, different institutions, our working place. So all these institutions draw specific things just to follow. And if we need to follow something, we need to be good or bad, we have two choices: either to act like this way, which is a standard form. And what is a standard form? Standard form is the collective conscience which is designed by the society through different structural institutions. You understand? Okay. So I mean, so let's simply talk about what is positivist actually think. What is positivism? This is basically, there are certain sociologists, they simply consider, if you want to understand society, you need to follow the rules which is governed by the natural sciences. What is natural sciences? Like physics, like chemistry, like biology. The person or the researcher is not allowed to work according to their own will in physics, in science, because we need to simply collect the data. We need to perform experimentation in the labs or whatever, wherever we like to perform those experiments. And we are not supposed to put our point of view on that. We need to simply work according to the data which is presented, which is obtained by different experimentation or observation, right? So positivists have a very simple rule and regulation. What? If we want to understand society, we need to work like a chemist, we need to work like a scientist. So there must be specific scientific laws which should be governed to understand society. And you see that G is equal to 9.8 meter per second square. This is gravitational acceleration. So once you got the idea, once you get the value 9.8, we are not supposed to talk about the details. First, we got the theory, we got the law. F is equal to ma. So once we got the law, once we got the value of any specific, you can say constant, see, we need to talk about this value and simply keep on going on that. So according to specific sociologists, they simply consider societies can be learned very good. You know what? How? On a scientific method. How scientific method? Because if we are learning G is equal to 9.8, there are certain things which are unseen, we don't have any idea. The resistance of air, it is unseen. So on the same pattern, if you want to learn something through societies, you need to observe the unseen forces. In gravitational acceleration, we have unseen forces like resistance of air. We have unseen forces, for instance, the temperature. We have unseen forces like the environment, unseen forces. So parallel to this, if you are a positivist and you need to learn sociology according to scientific method, what you need to follow? You need to follow the unseen forces to understand what is society is all about and how society is governed. According to positivists, we are not supposed to learn society by people's behavior. Rather than, you need to understand the institution who govern the behavior, because it's the institutions, it's the rule and regulations of the institution who simply tell us about this is right, this is wrong. So I mean, it is not possible to understand what is the psyche of the people. There are dozens and dozens, there are millions of people in a society. How could it be possible for a person or an individual to learn each and everything through that? So what is important? You need to learn if the institution is working properly. We need to understand what this institution is all about. If the police is working hard, police is working justly, so it means most of the population is good. You know why? Because we are studying what? We are studying police. If the judiciary of a country is good, I mean there must be a very little amount of crime in this society. You know why? Because we are not learning the behavior of the people of a society. Rather than we need to learn what? The style of judiciary, how justful our judiciary is. So you understand what I mean to say? All the crux is, if you want to understand society, what is important? You need to evaluate, you need to examine society with the help of scientific methods. Scientific method means you need to understand what? The unseen forces. And what are the unseen forces in society? According to positivist, you need to learn something about the institution. I think so. This is what actually quite easy. I try my level best to do this. So since this version of science is connected, concerned only with what is rather than how we might want something to be. So according to positivist, we need to learn what is important, not what should be or how it could be. This is not important. Exactly. And you know, it is better. I mean, the people who simply are the persons who really interested in positivist or the positivism, this type of approach, they simply say, okay, according to that approach, you are far away from biasness. Because see, if I'm a scientist, I don't need to put myself into according to this value. So I don't need to put myself, my choice. But when you talk about a sociology in terms of your personal involvement, see that there is a biasness, rather in a fraction or in more than 50%. So positivism is a choice, is a, you can say it's a methodology, it's an approach which simply halts biasness in your research. So this is the plus point of the people who observe, people who try to follow the positivism. And see that the primary research goal is to explain, not describe. This is the advantage of the positivist methodology. First of all, the primary research goal is to explain, not describe social phenomena. You understand? What is your primary goal? You need to collect data. Don't put yourself into it. Positivists have the objectivity, no subjectivity. When you talk about the subjectivity, it means you need to involve yourself into that matter. And in positivism, this is not, possible. So the scientific research involves the ability to discover the general rules or structure that determine individual behavior. So scientific research means, so if you simply go with the scientific research, for instance, you are not involved yourself. Again, it's the same point. So you need to discover what it is. You simply notice what it is actually going on, and you know all these things through the institutions. The last thing, scientific research involves the ability to quantify and measure behavior. And what is your scientific research in positivism? Involve the ability to quantify. Once you got the data, you need to quantify and measure behavior. So this is what we have in positivism. Okay, that's all for today right now. In the next video, inshallah ta'ala, and please do comment me just to have you have queries. I am ready to answer your questions. Jazakallah.